Hi everyone, I'm Layla Aysheh, and I will be discussing racial profiling among Muslims in the US. The first question I asked myself is, where did this discrimination come from? Why did this hate emerge? So I took myself back to the attacks of September 11th, which sparked debate over racial profiling. The Department of Justice initiated a program of interviewing thousands of men who arrived in the US from countries with an al-Qaeda presence, a program that some deem as racial profiling and others defend as proper law enforcement. Racial profiling occurs when a law enforcement officer stops and investigates a person because they believe that members of that person's race or ethnic group are more likely to commit that sort of crime. And we see a lot of that in the African American and Hispanic communities as well. However, all this changed after the September 11th attacks. Now, racial profiling is more likely to mean security checks or federal investigations that target Muslims from Middle Eastern countries. Hate crimes against Muslims stem from all over the US. I'd like to mention 3 events that have taken place in our homeland. Back in February of this year, a shooting took place in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. 3 Muslim college students aged 19 to 23 were shot execution style by their white neighbor over a parking space dispute, but police determined that it was indeed a hate crime against Muslims. Occurring right in Inverness, the owner of Florida Gun Supply declared his shop a Muslim-free zone upon the shooting in Chattanooga, where a suspected Islamic extremist gunman killed 5 service members. National Communications Director of the Council on American Islamic Relations, Ibrahim Hooper, stated, "These bigoted declarations are no different than whites-only signs posted in businesses during a period of our nation's history that we had hoped was over." Lastly, there have been numerous anti-mosque activities throughout the U.S., including vandals firebombing Islamic centers in Jacksonville, Florida, and Houston, Texas. Currently, a select few presidential candidates are using racial profiling in order to further their campaign. Donald Trump recently proposed the idea of not only Muslims wearing ID badges, but also banning all Muslims newly entering the United States. Ben Carson states that a Muslim is not fit to be president of this country.
I would not advocate that we put a Muslim in charge of this nation. I absolutely would not agree with that.
The media plays a huge role in the rise of discrimination against Muslims. Fox News is a contributor to this bigotry. When a Muslim individual commits a crime, the whole religion of Islam is to blame, and every follower is labeled as a terrorist. However, when a white individual commits the same crime with a greater death toll, they are considered a mentally ill lone wolf. These are a few headlines that demonstrate how emphasis is put on religion when a Muslim is involved. Racial profiling and discrimination are evident. On the bright side, hate is not everywhere. Christians are standing with Muslims in protests, carrying signs that say, "We support our Muslim neighbors." President Obama had this to say,
"And our neighbors, our co-workers, our sports heroes. And yes, they are our men and women in uniform who are willing to die in defense of our country."
Even students here at USF had this to say.
When I hear the word Muslim, I honestly think of the kind of stuff going on in the Middle East and all the kind of racial disparity going on in the U.S.
I took a religious studies class and I learned so much about it and have the utmost respect for it.
I always hear those kinds of stereotypes about Muslims, and I always find them insulting myself. As a Muslim in this country, I do believe we all need to come together, regardless of your religion. I think, of course, as Muslims, we have to continue to just be out there and be vocal that, hey, this is not representative of what we believe.
So where do we go from here? Before we come up with any solution at all, we must first recognize that racial profiling among any racial and ethnic group is a problem. Racial profiling strongly defies our Constitution and ignores the fact that this country was flourished by immigrants of various backgrounds. Muslims contribute to society just like everyone else. They're your neighbors, your friends, your doctors, teachers, engineers, your coworkers. They're taxpayers. We have to not let the media influence our mentality. Rather, educate ourselves in order to unite with one another for the sake of peace.